Welcome to the Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zammit. Let's get on with the show with the news, the views, reviews, and interviews. Making news. Now, there is apparent reports that the fan base of Star Wars has lost 85% of it. 85% has been lost with the fan base of Star Wars. More about what I think about this in my views segment coming up soon, but that is just a report, just to let you know it's making news. To more news, if you are going to see The Mandalorian and Grogu, really get your act together and see it now, because I think it's going to exit cinemas any week or any day in some regions in the world. So go and see it. We've got, movies coming out like Toy Story 5 that's just come out. Next week is going to be Supergirl. It's going to be really lost in the mix. So if you're going to see Mandalorian and Grogu, go and see it now. I have rated it, just to give you a sort of a quick rating right now. I thought it was good. Not great, but good. And it's definitely fun, definitely sort of worthwhile. But, check out the review. I've got it on my channel a couple episodes ago. To more news. No news is good news. That's right. With Starfighter, that's coming out in 2027. Sean Levy directing, writing, I think it is, and also Ryan Gosling being the main actor in Starfighter, Star Wars Starfighter in 2027. No news is good news. Nothing really substantial. Only a lot of rumors that's happening at the moment. I think all these rumors may be true, but maybe not be true. Let's just wait till the actual news comes out. But speaking of Starfighter, a short time ago, in about a month ago, there was rumors again that there was going to be a Starfighter tease or something like that. It still very well could happen. We are in the summer season of movies that is in America, which is a really big season. July is massive on movies, as you can sort of see. Spider-Man is coming out. We've got Supergirl. We've got Toy Story is out. There's other ones coming out. I can't remember, but it's a big season for it. But anyway, that is also making news. Also making news. No real Star Wars Celebration 2027 update. My last email to them, they have not responded. I think they could be coming to the point where they know who I am, know my issues, along with many thousands of fans out there. But just to let you know, they have put the importance of merchandise for the fans who got tickets for the event in 2027, that Star Wars Celebration. The merchandise back on sale for those guys, which is great. I'm happy for those guys getting some merchandise that they couldn't get on their particular day in getting tickets, but have forgotten somehow of the thousands, no doubt tens of thousands of fans eagerly awaiting for tickets that could sell more merchandise. But anyway, no real update besides that, which I mentioned a couple of days ago at Star Wars Celebration. I will keep my finger on that pulse, let me tell you. I'm one of the devastated ones, and I'm going to just keep on until this is fixed. If it doesn't fix itself, well, let's take it on from that point, what happens. But anyway, that is the news. Let's get into the views. Views is my opinion, viewpoint, or a view that I have of a story idea. And so it's technically a viewpoint now. And it's about this rumor of 85% loss of Star Wars fans. And it's sort of basing itself on the the numbers on Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker Episode 9, and also the numbers of Mandalorian and Grogu, the numbers of, tickets sold, stuff like that, the amount of money Rise of Skywalker Episode 9 made, and what Mandalorian and Grogu is making still. Technically, they're both making money still, but the comparison, and that's where the 85% is roughly coming from, the apparent reports. My viewpoint is this. The whole Star Wars community, because there is a community, and the non-Star Wars community who love Star Wars but are not a part of the community, who just love Star Wars, whether it's losing or winning, the Star Wars story is a quest in the stars. Good versus bad. It may not be the greatest story ever, but the amount of negative talk or opinions in a negative way that I constantly hear, is where this feeling comes from. Now, I'm not going to blame any particulars, but I just think the best resolve to this is accept the story for what it is. Some of you out there may think, well, I'm just not going to take, this crap that we're getting, served up on us. I'm just going to take a stand. Well, okay. Take a stand. Just go into your bank account. Make sure you got about, 6 to 10, maybe $billion. Buy it and make the story. But anyway, I accept that the story has ups and downs, bads, lefts and rights and all that. But I accept the story for what it is. Just let the journey take you somewhere. That's it. This whole 85% thing is just a way to, obviously give us a stat, which is good. But it does nothing to further Star Wars. I'd rather keep on seeing Star Wars stuff come out. It's never always going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I'd rather a consistency of this because it's such a big universe that has been sort of squashed a little at times, but it still offers greatness. It's sort of like when people talk about comic book fatigue. Okay, so the story is always going to turn out the same way. The good gets on top at the end after a bit of a struggle. And the same movie just comes out and out, and it's the same thing. But you know what? I don't think it's the fatigue of comic book films. It's just, it may be just not your type of story anymore. Maybe you've just seen enough of that. But still, I think even with comic book films, even with Star Wars films, it offers a style of story that I accept the story for what it is. That's all I can say. It's up to you what you want to do, but that is where I'm coming from, and I still enjoy it to this day. I watch excerpts of this all the time, of Star Wars, all the time. Maybe not in the most conventional, old school ways I'd like, video or DVD. I get to see snippets on YouTube. I get to see snippets on Disney Plus. But that's how it is. Anyway, that's my viewpoint for this time around. Now, I'm just going to take a Midichlorian pill. If that is such thing, I don't know. But I'm going to call it a Midichlorian pill. And whilst I'm out, I'm just going to, sip on the Kool-Aid, as they would say. Ah, beautiful. Anyway, let's get into the reviews. Reviews this time around is of a fan film that is remarkable in a different way. Now, I've got to remember the actual film is, let me just recollect, here it is. The film name, the whole title, when you look for it on YouTube, is Darth Vader's horrible life after Revenge of the Sith, Rebirth of the Jedi. It's essentially called Rebirth of the Jedi. It's a full movie. Now, this sort of takes on reality in, just after Revenge of the Sith. Obviously, hence the title. It's a real slow, and when I say slow burn, it uses excerpts of, the actual film, but it also uses its own fan base AI, I'm going to assume, with actors, I'm going to assume. Maybe they're AI, I don't know, because it's so bloody good. But it uses that section in a really slow way. But this film is absolutely great. It really gives you this psychological dilemma, the evil of Anakin, what he was going through, and technically Darth Vader, because he's Darth Vader at this point. But it's just, even just the still shots with him just staring and at a droid for a long time and getting flashbacks. I tell you, it was great. The only flaw to this film was the voice of C-3PO sort of gets out of hand a little. And also, I think the Emperor is a bit out of hand. It's a bit too deep for me. Those particular voices were a little bit jarring, but it's just I'm telling you, if you can just take the time, it's 20 minutes, just watch the film, really have yourself understand the point of where Anakin has just pronounced himself as Darth Vader, not pronounced himself, but he was announced by Emperor, but so Palpatine. But it's like it's the world he's trapped in. Visually, it's amazing. The music entitled with this is amazing. I am going to give this film is going to get a 10 out of 10. Not 11, because I usually give these films really over the top, but it's a 10 out of 10. It's a perfect film. Even with the C-3PO voice, it's a little bit unusual at times, and even with the Emperor's voice, which is a little bit too deep, it really encapsulates the psychological mess that Anakin and/or Darth Vader's in, using footage that has been seen, but also using the own fan-based created film, AI, I'm going to assume. It's just really, really good. It is actually depressing. It's that good. The depression, the feeling of this is, I don't think it's a rewatchable type thing, because you really will feel depressed every time. But the way it gets you to have that feeling of what it's trying to portray is absolutely great. Rebirth of the Jedi is a must-see fan film for you guys. If you know Star Wars, the episodic saga, it fits in a section, obviously, after Revenge of the Sith. It is great. 10 out of 10. Anyway, so let's now... so that's reviews. Let's get into interviews. Interviews, this is usually my questions I get in my last particular video. Comments, whatever you want. And that's usually where it's at. But, one day in the future, if I ever get to interview George Lucas, it will appear on this part of the video. Interviews. Let's get into the questions. Anyway, so first off, Hans Colo 619. I'm going to assume it's Hans Colo 619 has written in and said, can't wait to see Toy Story 5. Thanks for the review. Because my last episode was about the Toy Story 5 review I did. And let me tell you, Hans Colo 619, it's a great story. It's, it's a little bit sad, but it's such a good story. I know this is it's all this talk I discovered after watching it that this whole Jesse thing was is it woke or for me I went into the film. Jesse seems to be the main character of these toys, and it was seamless. Like I didn't think, oh, it's a girl toy, it's a boy toy. I just let the story. I accepted the story for what it is, and it was good. It fits. Jesse fits. Everything fits. It's a great story. Check out my review. It was on my last episode of Toy Story 5. But thanks, Hans Colo 619. You seem to be a great commenter or even question asker. Keep rocking the questions. Love them. Anyway, Michael from Werribee South, back on it. Werribee South is a part of Melbourne, Australia. It's on the other side of the bridge for good reason. Anyway, let's see what Michael has. The executive overcorrection is putting Dave Filoni in charge of all creative choices a smart move for the law consistency, or will it alternate casual fans who don't want to watch hours of animated television to understand a movie? Interesting question, and it's not just Dave Filoni, it's also Lin Brennan. They are really the presidents of Star Wars Lucasfilm. She's getting a bit lost in the mix at the moment. And Dave Filoni technically is the face of being this president when he's only part of. But, so Dave Filoni is big on law. He was sort of guided by George Lucas. I like Dave Filoni, but he has a certain style of Star Wars telling. I really think he needs to, as I say, accept the story for what it is, but have variations of style of stories. There was always reports that he was not into Andor. And he's not really into this apparently Starfighter, but I think the core of a story is how the story starts, goes, and ends. And if you have that liking, how it is actually portrayed in film is just how the director and the writer or whoever it is sort of shows that this is what the story looks like. I think accepting it's the story, the core of the story has to have a great intro, has to have a great body, and has to have a great outro. Technically, in the world of movie talking, that's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. So really, it just needs the components of a great story. How it looks like needs to have variation, and it needs to suit what the actual movie is actually talking about. But I think, you don't have to always understand movies watching animation or even the live action stuff on Disney Plus. Like even The Mandalorian and Grogu, you didn't actually have to see a lot of Mandalorian and Grogu at all to really understand what was going on. You probably needed a little bit of understanding of who these characters are and why they are here, but that's it. But yeah, so it's an interesting time in Star Wars with Dave Filoni and Lin Brennan. We'll see what happens. I'm all for them. And anyway, so let's get on to the next question. Michael from Werribee South. He's got the streaming trap. Did Disney doom the Mandalorian and Grogu by making the characters free to watch on Disney Plus for years, destroying the premium theatrical value? No. I will say that I will agree that this movie should have come out after end of season 2. But the last episode of season 2 was that heroic entrance of Luke Skywalker, which was the best episode of Mandalorian that I could think of. It was the way it just It was great. It was so good. Basic but really good. That sort of should have been in the movie. That type of thing in a movie would have just stirred the nation. At that time, it would have, from how Mandalorian was taken by the people of Star Wars fans, would have hit the marketplace better. But the story of Mandalorian and Grogu was, consistent to the actual story ideals of who they are. It's just a constant chase, of getting credits, money, running away from the enemy because of this little Grogu guy. That's all that story. They're not Jedi. I mean, besides Grogu, they're not like hero Jedis, where they're trying to save the universe. They're just on their own sort of journey. But I think the streaming trap is interesting because even though streaming is becoming more popular with big actors and people wanting to stay home or watch things, which is great, but it really does kill the income for things to be made in such a extravagant way. And I just think going to the cinema is actually a great experience. It's still good. I love it. I enjoy it, but staying at home watching it on a big TV that we have these days does work out to be pretty good, and I would enjoy that too. But I think cinemas would be great for it to survive. If you ever been to the Chinese theatre in LA, which I have multiple times in one day, I won't get into that story, but that Cinema One is the best cinema in the world. Screen, sound, architecture, unbelievable, beautiful. Anyway, so let's get into the next and final question from Michael from Werby South. The trilogy dilemma. Should Lucasfilm abandon standalone filmmaker passion projects entirely and strictly stick to long-term pre-planned trilogies like up-and-coming Simon Kinberg project? I think the cinema, and I think Star Wars is best in the cinema, but I think it's best as the episodic saga. I just think the episode 1 to 9 to 10, 11, 12, which we haven't got, is the way to watch Star Wars at the cinema. I do love the standalone projects. I loved Solo. I loved Rogue One. I even love Mandalorian and Grogu for what it is. And they're great projects, but the whole event is an episodic film from Star Wars. That's, to me, the best way to go to the cinema and see it at the cinema. Anyway, that's my answer for this time. Anyway, that is the show for this time around. Subscribe to the channel, The Force Always. I'm here 3 or 4 times a week. And until next time, my friends, keep rocking.